Hey everybody, Jazzmyn Banks back again talking about the show Push Girls. As you know, last week's episode, I loved it. It was raw, it was real. It showed what people with disabilities and who are in wheelchairs have to go through, all the nonsense they deal with, all the ignorance they're surrounded by. This episode I like too, but I have some mixed feelings when it comes to, I guess, how some of it was produced, edited, presented. Let me get into situation number one, which I think is very important when it comes to someone who's newly disabled or even been disabled a long time. Chelsea, who's 19, been in a wheelchair for 2 years, and is hanging out with 4 women. They've kind of taken her under their wing. Expressed a very important thought. She said when she's back home with her friends who are all able-bodied, it's great, it's cool, we hang out. But when she hangs out with these 4 women who are all in a wheelchair, they get her, and she gets them, and she feels more comfortable with them in a way. And there were some able-bodied people I was talking to, and I'm like, well, that's like, why? And then there's also the other side of able-bodied thinking, which is, well, of course, someone in a wheelchair is going to have friends in a wheelchair, and pretty much they start to think that's your only circle of people. Well, here's the thing. If you're in a wheelchair, should you have friends in a wheelchair? Of course. Why not? What's wrong with that? Do you have to? No. Should you? I think that you should have friends primarily based on what do you have in common? What would you like to go and do together? What do you like to talk about? Your health and any disability issues should be a secondary bonding element to a friendship. If your friendship is only based on the fact that you're all in wheelchairs, or you all have cancer, or you all have diabetes, or whatever, at some point there's got to be more than that, because if that's all you're going to talk about, it actually is unhealthy. And because being in a wheelchair, being disabled, having some kind of illness is not a good thing. It just isn't a good thing. What you do with your life despite it, now that's a good thing if you're going to be positive about it. If all you're going to do is circle around those issues, it's not healthy, not emotionally healthy, and it's not physically healthy, because your emotional health brings stress. Stress affects you physically. So I think it's important to have people that you can relate to when it comes to an issue, and you can talk about it. And hey, if more than that is there when it comes to a friendship, awesome. But if it's not, you still need to expand your circle to include people that you just get along with, you click for whatever the reason is. You also have your people that you have something in common with, and you can hang out, and you can go do stuff with. And you also have people that there's a bonding issue in, whether it's, to do with health, or whether you're a mom and you want to hang out with other moms, or married people, or based on religion or culture, or, gender. I mean, whatever it is, there's all these little groups that we all have to have. You don't want to limit yourself to very few groups, because otherwise you're not expanding your world, you're not getting into the world, and you're really isolating yourself. And especially if you've got a health condition of any kind or a major disability, this can, like I said, it can impact on you physically, and that's what you want to avoid. So I think that's number one, very important. Number two, when it came to the storyline in the show about Audi's dance group called Colors in Motion, it's a wheelchair dance group, and there was a conflict going on, like all dance troops have some kind of a conflict at some point. Okay, normal stuff. It was the way they showed it that bothered me, because this is a docu-series. This is not a reality TV series. But they overused the cutaway interview that you typically see in a reality TV series. Now, when it comes to a documentary or docu-series, there's always some kind of narration, even in reality TV. There is the person that's going to explain why we're here, what we're doing, what we're trying to go for, what are we trying to accomplish with this whole show or this whole movie. And that can be the narrator, just a voice. It can be, someone that is on camera, like a Michael Moore style. It can be just title boards where there's just words, you read them, and you move on, and you see, what's going on in everyone's lives. or there's the cutaway interview. Now, reality TV has kind of spoiled that because it starts to look like it's a reality TV show, and that can cheapen something that's supposed to be taken seriously. And so how it's used, how much it's used, is really important. And during the conflict over should we have a new dance routine or not, who's the boss, who's not, all of this business in the show, which sort of going down the road of a cat fight, they kept cutting away to these interviews, and that's where I had the problem. I was okay that there was a conflict. I was okay with maybe there was going to be a cat fight, whatever, it happens in real life. But to keep cutting away constantly and having them comment on it, and even like when they were in the rehearsal hall, and clearly you could see they were pulling them into a separate room, and one by one, interviewing them on what was happening in the other room, it just affected the credibility of the show for me at that moment, because this show is an educational platform that will have fun and dramatic and other moments. A reality TV show is for fun. That's what it's for. And is it educational? Well, sure, there's going to be a few little educational tidbits stuffed in there so you believe it's educational, but no, it's got fun, it's got drama, it's got all sorts of emotions to it, but it's for fun. And so you can go the route that's a little in your face with over-explaining stuff. When it comes to a docu-series, especially in this day and age of reality TV taking over the airwaves, I think you have to be careful not to make it look like that so that the audience is still going to take this subject matter seriously. The last thing that I had some mixed feelings with is the dance troupe, and when we see them dance. I would love if they would just let them dance, let us hear the music, let us see them dancing, because what they've done is either they overcompensate by too many edits where it's just, edit, and you're not getting a chance to really see them dance, or they're putting clips of it in some form of a montage where you hear other people talking and other music, or maybe it's such a quick moment that you just can't appreciate the dancing. And this to me is a problem, because the reaction you're going to get from the non-disabled world is a pity reaction. I've already heard it, I've seen it, where they go, aren't they great? Despite all they have to go through, look at what they're doing. Boy, do they have guts to be out there. They are so inspiring. That's not the reaction you want a dance troupe to have. You want people to go, wow, they're great dancers. Look at that. That's amazing dancing. That's the reaction you want. When you go to see Cirque du Soleil, you don't go, wow, they're such inspiring people with all they have to go through, and look at what they can do despite what they deal with on a daily basis. No, you go there and you go, wow, that stuff's amazing. I can't believe that they can do that. They're so talented. That's the reaction that you want. And so far, I am not hearing that reaction about this dance troupe from people I hear who have watched the show who are not disabled. They're just inspired by them. And I really think the show should just at some point let them just dance, even if you have to get some extra cameras there so that you could, get a bunch of angles, but don't over-edit it. Don't try to piece together things that weren't part of the routine, in the order it was. Just let them dance. Because I can see through it that they're good dancers, but when I put myself into the audience member head, because I think, as a filmmaker and an editor, and I think as an audience member, when I'm trying to be an audience member, I'm a little bit frustrated because I'm not appreciating the dancing. When I'm looking as an editor, I'm like, well, I could see that if they let that go a little bit longer, that actually would have looked cool. So I think, the show has to be very, very careful not to dip into the pool of reality TV. They've got to stay true to docu-series because the show is interesting enough. It's got the drama, it's got the fun, it's got all the things it needs to have, and just let it be itself, and don't try to dress it up and make it look like something else. I mean, a little bit of those cutaway interviews is fine, because you do need the story being told, but to overdo it, that's when you can really affect this show and what it's going, what message it's going to really bring to the audience that you're trying, to enlighten. about a very important issue. Please feel free to hit me up with any questions or comments about anything I had to say, or about the show Push Girls itself. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for supporting my YouTube channel, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next time.